The night in Miami is never silent. Even years later, the streets carry whispers of crimes, laughter that once filled the precinct, and shadows that refuse to fade. But tonight, something unusual stirs. A familiar presence walks back into the city, carrying with him not only memories but questions. His name, Vince Masuka? And after years of absence, he has finally returned. The camera glides across the city skyline, neon lights flickering against the dark waters. A gentle hum of traffic mixes with a low, haunting score. The voiceover cuts through the quiet. Time may move forward, but some people remain etched in our minds. Vince Masuka was one of them. A man who laughed too loudly, joked too crudely, yet always knew how to lighten the storm. The screen fades into black and white flashes, old crime scenes, Dexter's cold gaze, and in the corner, Masuka's unmistakable smirk. His past quirks, his laugh echoing through the precinct halls, play like ghosts of another life. The narration continues. For years, Miami Metro carried on without him. Cases came and went. Detectives rose and fell. But somewhere deep in the background, there was always a space left behind. The absence of Masuka. Slow, deliberate footsteps echo down a corridor. A faceless figure approaches, his silhouette framed against the glowing lights of the police station. The scene lingers. On the tension, the uncertainty of who he might be. The narrator whispers, in episode 9, touched by an angel, the silence is broken, the door creaks open, and the man who once stood as comic relief returns with eyes that no longer shine the same way. The faceless dramatization cuts. Between two timelines, the Masuka everyone once knew, cracking a joke over blood spatter reports, and the Masuka of now, walking slowly, carrying the weight of unseen years. His laugh is gone, replaced with a quiet breath, almost like a sigh. The narration sharpens. This is not just a comeback. This is a resurrection. But with it comes something far more unsettling. What has changed inside the man who once laughed? At everything? Colleagues in the hallway notice him. They exchange uncertain looks, their movements caught in slow motion. No words are spoken, only the sound of his footsteps growing louder, heavier. His presence draws attention, curiosity, and a ripple of unease. The narration deepens. For every return, there is a reason. And for Vince Masuka, that reason is shrouded in shadows. What drove him away? What brings him back? And who is the angel that has touched his life so deeply that his return feels almost faded? The scene closes with Masuka's silhouette stopping in the center of the hallway. The music swells, a mixture of nostalgia and dread. His shadow stretches long against the floor, hinting at the duality of who he once was and who he has become. The narrator leaves the audience with a chilling thought. When ghosts return, they rarely come empty-handed. Masuka's return is no exception. The hallway is quiet, almost too quiet. The air seems to hold its breath as the figure walks forward. His shoes strike the tile floor with a steady rhythm, each step echoing like the ticking of a clock. Faces. Turn detectives, officers, even interns staring at the man they never expected to see again. The camera lingers on their expressions, surprise, confusion, even a trace of fear. For years, Vince Masuka had been a ghost, a story people mentioned in passing. Now he was here. Not as a memory, but as a man of flesh and shadow. The camera refuses to show his face. Instead, it frames the details, a hand gripping a folder tightly, veins pressing against the skin as though the weight is more than paper. His shoulders, once relaxed with humor, now tense, carrying something unseen. His voice is heard before his face is revealed. Low, uncertain, but still carrying the familiar rhythm of Masuka. You didn't think you'd get rid of me that easily, did you? The words break the silence like glass shattering. A nervous chuckle spreads through the room, but it dies almost as quickly as it began. Something about his tone feels different, less playful, more controlled, as though the laughter is forced, rather than natural. The narration cuts in. Once the clown of Miami Metro, Vince Masuka's jokes used to hide fear, loneliness, and even brilliance. But now the jokes are fewer, the silence is longer. His return is not about comedy, it's about unfinished business. The screen flashes back brief, faceless memories of Masuka in the old days, standing beside Dexter in blood-spattered rooms, making crude jokes during tense interrogations, smiling with that odd mix of charm and discomfort. Then the flashbacks fade, returning to the present, where his figure stands in the precinct doorway, heavier, slower, but still undeniably Asuka. As he walks further inside, the lighting shifts. Shadows cling to him, stretching unnaturally across the walls, almost as if they are reaching. The camera tracks the reactions around him, Batista raising his eyebrows in disbelief, a young officer whispering to another, and the hum of conversations cutting off mid-sentence. Masuka stops. He lifts his head, but still, the camera avoids. His eyes, the tension grows. He looks around the room as if searching for something, or someone. The narrator whispers, "When a man returns after years of silence, it is never without reason." Masuka is not here to laugh. He is here because something, or someone, has pulled him back into the storm. For a brief moment, the old Masuka flickers through. He smirks, leans against the desk, and throws out a line. "What? No welcome. Party? Not even a banner?" The room laughs nervously, and for just a second, the old rhythm returns. But the camera catches something in his posture. His hand trembles as he adjusts his tie. His eyes glance at the floor, as though haunted by something invisible. The narration continues, darker now. The jokes remain, but they no longer ring true. They are masks, thin, fragile masks covering wounds we cannot yet see. And behind them lies a truth more dangerous than the laughter that once defined him. The music shifts into a low hum, like a heartbeat. Masuka takes another step forward, and the camera pushes closer to his silhouette. This is the moment the audience has waited for, the confirmation that he is truly back. But instead of clarity, the scene leaves us unsettled. The narrator draws the curtain on this moment with chilling words. Vince Masuka has returned, but not as the man we knew. This is not the return of a side character. This is the rebirth of a ghost, and ghosts do not come back to bring peace. The shot fades to black, only the echo of his last words lingering in the air. "Miss me?" *, the silence doesn't last. It never does in Miami Metro. Whispers crawl across the room like smoke, each voice carrying the same shock. Masuka's back. But while the others whisper, one figure steps forward. Batista, older and wearier, locks eyes with the man in the doorway. For years he's carried the precinct on his shoulders, patching holes left by the past. Now, standing across from him is a piece of that past Vince Masuka. The room holds its breath as Batista speaks. His voice is steady, but the undercurrent of disbelief is impossible to ignore. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." The words hit harder than expected. They aren't filled with warmth or excitement. They're heavy, uncertain. Masuka smirks faintly, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes. His reply comes soft, almost brittle. "Yeah, I didn't think I'd be back either." The camera keeps Masuka's face hidden, letting the weight of his words carry the scene. Instead, it focuses on the reactions, the tightening of Batista's jaw, the quiet shift in posture from officers nearby, the way silence presses down on everyone. The narration cuts through. This is the moment where laughter should have bridged the gap, but laughter has changed. It's not a shield anymore, it's a fracture. Masuka tries, though. He lets out a quick laugh, tossing in a crude joke about the precinct coffee tasting just as bad as before. A few chuckles break the tension, but they don't last. The sound fades too quickly, swallowed by something heavier. His voice cracks slightly, and the camera catches his hand gripping the edge of a desk, knuckles white, as though he's holding back more than anyone realizes. The narration sharpens. For years, Masuka's humor was a disguise. Behind every dirty joke, every nervous laugh was a man hiding from his own fears, but now the disguise feels broken. What he hides isn't insecurity anymore, it's something darker, something that's followed him back. Batista steps closer. His tone shifts, not a detective speaking to a colleague, but a friend reaching out. "Vince? What happened to you?" The question lingers in the air, heavier than any joke could erase. The faceless figure lowers his head, silence filling the gap where an answer should be. The music slows, deep and unsettling, as though the world itself is holding its breath for his reply. Finally, Masuka speaks. His words are low, trembling. An angel touched me. And when an angel touches you, you don't come back the same. The room stiffens. Nobody understands, but everyone feels the weight of what he just said. His words are neither joke nor metaphor, they are confession. The narration creeps back in, chilling. This is no longer about a reunion. It's about survival. Something in Vince Masuka has changed, and the man who once joked his way through crime scenes now carries the shadow of something divine, or something monstrous. The scene shifts, quick cuts between the faces of the team, confusion, fear, curiosity. Some want to embrace him. Others want to keep their distance. The precinct doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a stage where something larger, unseen, is about to unfold. Masuka straightens, forcing another smirk, though his trembling hand betrays him. "Relax, I'm still me," he says, but the words ring hollow. He scans the room, searching for Dexter, as though only Dexter would understand. But Dexter isn't there, only shadows. Only silence. The narration closes the scene with a haunting whisper. In the past, Masuka's voice was the echo of levity in the darkness. Now it is the echo of a man torn apart. The jokes are gone. The mask is slipping. And for the first time, Miami Metro sees Vince Masuka, unguarded, broken, and touched by something far beyond their understanding. The shot lingers on his silhouette, standing alone in the middle of the precinct. His shadow stretches across the floor like an open wound. For years, his return was impossible. Now that he's here, the only question is, has he come back as friend, or as something else entirely? Asterisk, the precinct feels unsettled, like the air itself is charged with static. Masuka stands in the center, his return still fresh, his words still burning in the silence. An angel touched me. No one dares ask what he means. Not yet. But his presence alone is enough to ripple through every corner of Miami Metro. The camera lingers on the small details, the clock on the wall ticking louder than usual, the buzz of the fluorescent lights flickering, the rustle of paperwork that suddenly sounds like thunder. Every sound is exaggerated, as though the world itself has shifted to acknowledge that something has come back with Masuka. Something unseen, but this isn't just Masuka's story. The shadows stretch, and within them another figure lingers, Dexter Morgan. Though absent from the room, his presence is felt like a ghost. The narration cuts in, low and unsettling. Where Masuka stands, Dexter is never far. Their lives are tethered by blood, laughter, and secrets buried in the dark. And if Masuka has returned, then perhaps so too has the darkness that always followed Dexter. The screen shifts. A faceless figure, clearly Dexter, watches from the edges of Miami's streets. His silhouette is unmistakable, broad shoulders, calm posture. A man who blends into the ordinary but carries extraordinary shadows. He does not step forward, he only watches. The camera cuts back and forth, Masuka inside, Dexter outside, two lives orbiting each other once more. Masuka's laugh, faint and broken, echoes down the hallway as he tries again to cover the weight of his return. But over that laugh, another sound builds, the hum of Dexter's inner monologue. The narration flows into his shadowed perspective. Masuka, always the fool, always the mask. But masks don't last forever, not his, not mine. And now, after all these years, the game begins again. Inside, Batista and the others try to resume their work, but their eyes keep drifting back toward Masuka. Questions hang in the air like storm clouds. Why now? What happened to him? And what did he mean about being touched by an angel? None of them know that the true answer lies in the shadows, where Dexter's cold logic and darker instincts remain alive. The scene slows to a crawl. Masuka sets his folder on a desk, his hands shaking before he steadies them. His voice is softer now, almost fragile. I didn't come back for me. I came back because someone needs saving. The words strike the air like a blade. Nobody knows what he means. Nobody dares to ask. But the tension sharpens. The narrator deepens. For Masuka, return is not nostalgia. It is necessity. He carries with him a secret, a burden that can no longer be carried alone. And as the city breathes around him, only one man has the tools to understand what must be done. Dexter Morgan. The music swells into something haunting, strings cutting through the silence like a whisper of fate. Quick flashes cut across the screen, Dexter's gloved hand tightening around a knife. A blurred photo of an angel statue cracked down the middle, Masuka's silhouette standing alone beneath the harsh fluorescent glow. A shadow moving across the city skyline. The narration sharpens into a chilling promise. Every return demands a price. Masuka has returned to pay his. But when angels touch the living, demons always follow. And in the streets of Miami, there is no greater demon than Dexter. The camera fades to black, leaving only the sound of Dexter's voice, calm, measured, terrifyingly familiar. If Masuka is back, then the blood is never far behind. The final frame appears, Dexter, Resurrection Episode 9. Touched by an angel. The screen stays black for a few seconds longer than comfortable, as though daring the audience to wonder what comes next. The silence itself feels like a character. Then, just before the video cuts out, a faint echo of Masuka's old laugh slips through warped, unsettling, the sound of a man changed forever.